Hey, amazing ladies. Are you ready to level up your life in 2025? I am truly excited to announce my new mastermind, Live, Love, and Thrive. An opportunity for you to not only level up your life or business, start a new business or passion project, and connect to amazing women who will support you and encourage you to live the life of your dreams. Meet other incredible female entrepreneurs and business owners, gain insight on new opportunities to grow your business, connect and network, and grow beyond anything you thought was possible. If you are truly ready to make 2025 the best year of your life, it's time to live, love, and thrive together. Reach out to me on social media or my website at jenmentasana.com to explore this very special, exclusive, and carefully curated mastermind opportunity. Welcome to Where Passion Meets Purpose. I'm your host, Jen Mentasana. On this show, we help busy moms and entrepreneurs find more passion and purpose in their daily lives through inspiring stories and interviews. Welcome back, everyone, to Where Passion Meets Purpose. This week on the show, we have Dr. Remina Panjwani. She is a board-certified physician focusing in internal medicine, but most recently really following her passion and purpose into functional medicine and really getting to the root of self-care of the patient and the best practices for taking care of your body. So I am so excited to have you on the show, Dr. Remina. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Jen, for having me. I love what you're doing, and everyone has a passion and purpose, so I love this.
Yeah, amazing. And you certainly do. I mean, I just am so excited to have our listeners hear your story about how you went, diving into medical school, focusing on medicine, internal medicine, and working in a hospital. It's such a huge commitment, and it's just a huge endeavor in and of itself. But I would love to hear a little bit more and have our listeners hear a little bit more about, how functional medicine came into play and where that's taken you.
Yes, great question. So my roots come from, I went to osteopathic medical school, and I know on the West Coast is very familiar. So I always thought slightly differently from the allopathic route. And that's already what drew me to it. So when I went to medical school, I purposely chose an osteopathic route. After medical school, it was truly integrated. So after medical school, I went to residency training, which was an internal medicine training. And with that, it was mostly focused allopathic, and it was specifically hospital medicine. You did have a little bit of, clinical medicine, but most of it was to prepare you to work in the hospital, which was great. Got a great training, education, saw a lot, learned a lot. And then when I got my first job in the COVID pandemic, that truly was a first for everything. But I believe it was during the pandemic that really made me see the cracks in the system. And it made me tune in even more that, am I really following my passion? I know my purpose is to help people through medicine, but medicine is not, the way I see it, it's not just people with a body of organs and just symptoms. It's a complex unit that everyone's unique, and we have a mind, body, and spirit, and we have lifestyle factors and background and everything that we were exposed to in our past and in our present. Everything is what makes you unique. So I started to dig deep because I was already burnt out. I was early in my career, burnt out in COVID. And I thought, okay, I need to get back to my roots. Yes, you're helping people. It's a bandage approach, but I need to go deeper. And so I did. So I went to do additional functional medicine training through the Cleveland Clinic, and I got my certification. And I got to a point and I thought, if I really want to make a change and really treat people, I need to just create my own business, my own company. So I did. I went with Dr. Remina, and it just continued to evolve. Thankfully, thank God, it just evolved. And it was funny because I was just telling you today that I just made the big move because the unique skill set that I have, it is great that I have Eastern and Western medicine training because you need both, right? You need it. I see people in the hospital when it's too late, when you miss the true preventive care and you end up with reactive care. So there's this big gap here in the system that I love to fill. And having that experience, I'm grateful for it. I know what to do so people don't end up in and out of the hospital. Of course, sometimes you need it. That's what it's there for. But there's a way to live and thrive so you could enjoy and have quality of life. So for the longest time, as I was expanding and building my brand and business, and that's where my passion is, right? That's where my passion is. I get to do sound bowls through wellness retreats, collabing with amazing people to provide holistic care. I get to see concierge patients. And I don't get told by insurance companies, you can basically only spend 10 minutes each patient and go on, you know? I get to spend 60 to 90 minutes and truly dive in and be there for people, give them the care that they need that's unique to them. And with that and all the other entrepreneurial stuff that I'm sure we'll dive into, but I decided that it was time. So just yesterday, I gave my notice to corporate medicine, and I was like, you know, I need to do it, and so I can open up the time span, the space, and thrive, also follow my passion and purpose and help people along the way. So yeah, that's where I am today, to fully give myself to this functional medicine practice.
It's so amazing, and you are such an inspiration because so many people talk about taking the step toward their passion, the step toward their purpose, and going all in. And it's really, it's amazing that you've been able to, first of all, manage both for a long time and do, your Western medicine practice and work in the hospital and get that experience and have that, knowledge that you got from working there, but also combine it with your true passion, and then be able to be in a place now where you can step fully into that role and really honor what it is that your purpose is in this lifetime, which is what I'm all about, as you know.
Yeah.
And I also think it's such a gift to your patients because you've got both sides. So I know a lot of people, and I think that this is an interesting topic, especially in this day and age where people are starting to trust Eastern medicine a little bit more, functional medicine, looking from the inside out of the patient and not just looking at the patient as a body or a number, if you will, or a science project, but more a human being and all the spiritual and environmental aspects and everything that you're saying. But you have both sides of knowledge. So it's kind of like you have this trust factor in the fact that if something was really wrong, you could see it. And then also this aspect of looking at the human being from a wellness perspective and what we can do to keep evolving and growing and becoming healthier and healthier over time, as opposed to reactive, like you mentioned. So I think you have a special gift. And I'm sure there are other doctors out there that are doing that because they're realizing what the potential can be. But I just love what you're doing. And I'm so inspired by your courage. And you have a family as well, right?
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes, and they're little. I have a 2.5 and a 6-year-old. So, and essentially, that's part of your purpose too. Like, why are you doing it? Your why is because essentially, I want to be happy with what I do, but I also want to have the autonomy with my time, so I can be there and be present and not miss out. Right? Like autonomy with your focus, your schedule, and energy is so important.
Yes. And I mean, just the fact that you have a 2 and a 6-year-old, like I remember when I first started, um, my husband and I started our business, I had a 2 and a 4-year-old. And I
Mm.
remember that insane. And that was us sharing a business. And I was doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff at the time so that I could be home with my kids and working on the computer while he was in the
Mhm.
restaurant. And then, as my kids got older and got in school, then we were able to fluctuate that. But the flexibility that you have when it's your own business, you were just mentioning how hard it's been and how demanding on your schedule it's been to follow your passion and purpose and do the functional medicine piece, but also, have this schedule at the hospital and not be able to be home for certain events or go to church with your family or whatever it is. And it is really, it comes to a point in life where you really just have to ask yourself what truly matters to me. And yes, I still want to work and I still believe that I can make an impact and make a difference in people's lives through healthcare and wellness, but I also have this family that I want to be there for. And so it's just, stepping into that courage and trusting the process and knowing that what you're doing is meant to be and that it will all work itself out in the long run if you're living in your true passion and purpose.
Definitely. And I'm not going to say it's scary. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, but that's how you grow. That's how you know that it's not going to always be a clear path. But if you're following your passion and purpose, trust and like it'll align eventually. It's a road, it's a
It
process.
will, and there's nothing to be said. This is not an easy road, and no one's saying it's perfect. And once you step
Exactly.
into your passion and purpose, it's like, oh, the sky opens up and there's rainbows and sunshine every day. It's not
Exactly.
that, right? Like we
Yeah.
all know that, but the risk is worth the reward, because
Mhm.
to wake up every day and do something that you love doing, and knowing that there are going to be days that are hard and there's going to be days that are challenging, or you're not going to know, if financially you can afford to do it or whatever. I'm just, and everybody that listens to the show at this point, or if you've just found us, I mean, I am the voice that's encouraging you to take the risk, because it is so worth it to live your life in passion and purpose and really follow, the talent and the gift and the path that God has chosen for you and has given you the gifts to use to live this lifetime. And so it's all the bumps in the road, all the challenges that come with it are part of that story and part of you becoming who you are meant to be. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm so inspired by you. And now, on top of obviously your medicine, you are now an entrepreneur. So why don't you take us a little bit through discovering that part of yourself and that journey?
Oh gosh, that in itself, talk about being uncomfortable, but doing it anyways, right? There's this voice inside, and maybe it's intuition too, that I have this idea. And at first, this is why it's also important to surround yourself with the right people, right? Like the part of our mastermind we're in, it's so important to have that because for the longest time in conventional medicine and the people that you're surrounded by, you are stuck in a box, right? You're stuck in a box. You're supposed to do medicine this way. You're supposed to check this box off, whatever, right? But I still knew it was like a high functioning, almost depression kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't following my passion and I couldn't figure out what it was. But then slowly I started getting an idea where it started when I thought, okay, let me just make my own business, right? Let's just see. Let's see one client at a time. And then I thought, you know, I've noticed that to truly be holistically having the wellness option and be truly holistic, because being internal medicine, having that lens, I can't think of a separate organ system. Everything is connected. Everything internally, externally is connected. So to truly offer that package, including mind, call it like mood disorders or anxiety, I don't want to just slap a pill on it. And we know that everything is included: what you eat, how you sleep, your relationships, who you surround yourself with, how do you decompress. And so that's where I was kind of lost. Like, where do I go from here with this idea? So then I was introduced to the whole entrepreneur world, going to like events, going to networking, and then where we met, at last year in April. So that opened my eyes to I've been surrounding myself with the wrong people saying, no, that's a crazy idea. And I'm into this world who are used to having these amazing ideas and embracing kind people of being open, of being abundant, not just staying in the box. So that encouraged me. It was like being on the right path, right? Like there's something that is open, it's shown to you. You just have to like follow that intuition. You have to follow it
Follow the
and
intuition and listen,
exactly.
right? And listen and take
Exactly.
action when those messages come across. I call them the breadcrumbs from the universe,
Yes.
right? They're the little breadcrumbs that either God or the universe, whatever you believe, is dropping into your lap. And if you listen and you choose to listen and you go down that path, it can be incredible and where it takes you. And what's
Mhm.
the worst thing that happens? You explore it and maybe it isn't the right path, and then you go in a different
Exactly.
direction.
Yeah.
But the point is that you've listened to your intuition. It's God's voice, taking you down the path that you were supposed
Mhm.
to be exploring. And that's such a gift that you listened. And I'm
Mhm.
so grateful that, that path brought us together, because now we're talking
Yes.
about all these exciting things that we're going to do to work together and
Yes.
retreats and things like that.
Oh
And I
my
can't
goodness,
wait
yes.
to get that going. But yeah, it's just amazing. And so when you talk about the aspect of being holistic, you're
Mhm.
really talking about not just for your patients, but yourself, right?
Mhm.
Because you're sitting here saying, okay, well, if I'm doing all this work, then I need to honor that for myself as well.
Mhm.
And it sounds like that's what you started to trust that and really
Yes.
listen and say, I'm going to put myself in a place where I'm surrounding myself with people who are like me, who want
Mhm.
to explore what is possible instead of what is impossible or what I shouldn't be doing. And there are
Mhm.
so many people out there. We're so fortunate to
Mhm.
live in this time, in this day and age, in this country where anything is truly possible. And if you put yourself out there and you research and you work to find your tribe, you will
Mhm.
find it. Right?
It's so true. And you know you're online because the energy feels right too, and you're lifting each other up. And that's a big difference because had that not had happened, I don't know where I'd be because you're always going to have that doubt in a sense,
Mhm.
especially if it's something new. It's uncomfortable. But going along that path and then presenting the opportunity, having my ideas accepted and seeing that people are benefiting. And then now I just know at this point I'm going to trust it. So then came about, let's see, we started doing wellness experiences. So combined with my functional medicine talk, we combined it with yin yoga with one of my friends' studios. We did meditation journeys. We did sound bowls. We'll go out in nature. Like, and that was one which we'll expand together, you and I. I'm excited to do that. And then the other aspect, then I thought, I need to write a book because people are, they need this. And I've been through it myself. I have the tool set, I have the knowledge, I have the trust. I can give back in this way. So starting on my first book soon, then podcasting, of course, came out. And then I thought, why not just start bringing like summit and educational stuff and bring more people together? So it just created a movement to know that this is the right path.
It's amazing. And it's also this incredible journey when you find that you can collaborate with other
Mhm.
entrepreneurs that are maybe going down the same path that you are, but in a kind of a different field or
Yeah.
capacity, and you can come together and collaborate. And then all of a sudden, entrepreneurship is more like partnership,
It
and you're
is, yeah.
collaborating and you're networking and you're creating together. And it's so rewarding. It is like, it's the whole new frontier for
Mhm.
entrepreneurship nowadays, because in the old days it was like you went out and you started a business and you were on your own, you had to go get a loan and you had to do this. Well, now we have all these resources out there with obviously the internet and podcasting and Zoom and all
Mhm.
the different ways that we can connect with people and collaborate and come up with ideas, and like it's literally endless, the possibilities, and it's so much fun. I mean,
Oh,
this is I'm a big on connection, and being an entrepreneur, as I just mentioned, can be really lonely.
Mhm.
But when you're able to collaborate and make connections with other entrepreneurs, and you're both kind of on this journey of exploration and building your business and growing and impacting others, it's so rewarding, and you're connecting on a whole nother level. And I like thrive in this space, right? Like I'm just
Yes,
getting excited
I know, I
talking
love
about it, because it truly is just such a rewarding type of relationship that often in life you don't always have. I mean, we have our
Mhm.
girlfriends, we have our childhood friends, and they're all amazing,
Mhm.
amazing friendships for different reasons. But when you start to collaborate with other entrepreneurs, and especially women, I think we just kind of level each other up and resonate on
Yes,
another level that just is so incredibly rewarding. And so, I
yes,
mean, I love it. Here I am, like talking about this, and I'm just jumping out of my seat, wanting everyone that's listening to say,
yes.
take that chance and try this, because
Mhm.
there's never been a better time to go out and try something new and different, because there's just so many opportunities out there, no matter what it is that you're trying to do. So, okay, I have one more question for
Mhm.
you when it comes to internal medicine, because this is kind of, or not internal medicine, sorry, functional medicine. This is
Mhm.
kind of a newer world for me, and I'm definitely kind of on the path of starting to really think about my body, what I put in it. I mean, I've always been big into exercise because it makes me feel good. But really like focusing on, supplements and what I'm eating and cutting out sugar and all the different things. Um, like if I were, I'm just going to throw this out there. If like I were a new patient coming to you and saying, I'm kind of on this new functional medicine
Mhm.
path. I'm a relatively healthy woman in my early to mid 50s. Um,
You look
you
great, by
know,
the way.
yeah, I know. I'm like just announcing the age right here. But what would you say, like what would be the initial consult like for someone like
Yeah.
me?
I always like to ask, well, what's your goal, right? What's your goal? And I like to say, in this point, we're getting to root cause, right? What are your symptoms, right? Because there's symptoms, but what's your root cause? And so based off of that, then I work backwards, right? So we get to what's your goal? Um, and of course, I'd like to always ask, have you been seen by a functional medicine doctor? What worked, what didn't work, you know? And so then we have a baseline. Then I work backwards. We have a good 60, 90 minutes to dive deep. So I'll go through, of course, you'll go through like the general past medical history, but I go deeper, right? So I will say, well, when you're in your mother's womb, what kind of environment was it, right? Was it stressful? Because we know that it affects the genes in utero. So when you're a fetus in your mom's womb, you know that environment shapes basically your genes, right? And then you know there's like telomere links, right? DNA. And so that's affected when you're born too. So it's important to know what type of environment you grew up
I've
in.
never heard anyone say that before. I'm just going to interrupt you for one
Yeah.
second and just tell you this is so interesting because I had to go through IVF to have my first child.
Mm-hmm.
And my body was a temple. I was zen during that period because I quit my high stress job. I was all present in receiving when I was trying to get pregnant. And when I was pregnant, it was like, oh, I felt like this, goddess or whatever, like
Yeah.
carrying this baby. It was such a miracle. And
Yes,
I
it
was
is.
definitely, I would listen to calming music and
Mm-hmm.
candles and this whole thing. And then, the second baby, I'm pregnant with, who I didn't have to go through IVF
Mm-hmm.
with, and it's a totally different experience. And now I see my two kids and they're so different. And I'm like, I wonder if that's the variable. I mean, I'm sure there's a
Yeah,
lot of variables, genetics and everything else,
sure.
but this is the first time I've ever heard anyone actually talk about this. So I
Yeah.
think it's so fascinating.
Well, definitely, there's a lot of factors, but that's just one too, right?
Yeah.
So imagine if, well, depending on, there's things you can change, there's things you cannot, right?
Yeah.
So imagine you come out of the womb, whichever environment you have, then you add in all the external factors, right? The environment we have now. We are filled with, look at the state's like food system, right? We're filled with so many processed foods with chemicals, ingredients, and we add in like modern stress, all these other things that impact you. And then you think about, of course, the type of lifestyle that you lead, right? So that's where you have the factor that you can control. So kind of going backwards on, after I check in utero, then I look at, okay, were you born? How were you born? Were you bottle fed, breastfed? Because that also ties into your microbiome. And that, of course, your gut is connected to almost everything, right? We have big institutions such as Harvard and Johns Hopkins now, right? Conventional institutions that are catching up, right? They're showing that there's so much data on gut brain axis and brain gut axis, right? So that's important too. So, of course, you could see how coming from birth, if that sets you up for, a success, or maybe a little bit harder. It doesn't mean that you're doomed. It just kind of paints the whole picture. That's what we're trying to get to. Then I go through, okay, what were major events? Was there a trigger? Maybe sometimes you could say, I was doing well until I had this one event, or I felt great until I got this one gastroenteritis. And then since then, I started getting sick, or maybe I had a lot of ear infections. So I was exposed to a lot of antibiotics. Or here's another one, went through a lot of trauma. And you think about trauma too, right? There's so much trauma, generational trauma, childhood trauma, and that can also affect how you respond because it's a stressor. And so if you stack it up, if you try to identify what those triggers are, you know how to give you the tools and address it. So that's just part of it, a little snippet. And then once I go through that, we go through your daily routine and your habits. So what's your sleep like? What time are you sleeping? Are you scrolling? Do you have the blue screen? Because we know your brain has to turn off. So if you have the blue screen or you're Netflixing, the portion of your brain that's supposed to rest is not actively resting. And that's important because that's where you clear out your toxins. That's where you rest and recoup. And then, of course, you could add in like the hacks, like, turning down the temperature because you want to keep it cool and dark, all those things. Are they doing that? Is there a way to create like a bedtime ritual to slow down that nervous system and be in your rest and digest parasympathetic response, right? You don't want to be in the go, 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 fight or fight response. So I dive deep on that. Then we look at nutrition. What are you eating? What time are you eating? That kind of gives me an idea of where we're at. Are you like, I eat 10 colorful vegetables and fruits a day, or are we like, yeah, I just eat whatever I see, because I'm busy, right? So it's a balance. I meet people where they're at. Then, of course, we look at exercise. Are you doing the right type of exercise? Sometimes people are just doing cardio. And for their body type to have longevity, you want to make sure you add in like strength training, right? Because muscle is an organ of longevity. So things like that. Then we look at relationships. Are you in toxic relationships? Are you supportive relationships, right? How about your mind, body, spirit connection, right? Are you religious? Do you meditate? How are you de-stressing? So we look at all that. Then at that end of the consult, I have a good understanding, because everyone is seen and heard. That's a big component, right? Is being seen and heard within that non-rush time. And then I basically come down, okay, well, what's one step? We looked at this goal. You told me at the beginning, this is your symptom and this is your goal. Well, what can we do from this lifestyle that we can get you closer to that? It's small steps, and eventually they become habits, and you'll notice. So a lot of times, for example, we'll start a lot of it does get tied to the gut. So maybe we'll do like a gut reset. We'll do maybe start moving around, maybe walk outside, maybe start like a mindfulness practice, gratitude journals, something small and it's sustainable. And then we check back while that lifestyle change is happening. Then I'll dive into, all right, well, let's see if we need to do some advanced labs, which are different from conventional medicine, right? You go to a regular doctor and they'll look at just basic blood work and they'll say everything is normal. So I'm putting quotation marks, normal, because it's not optimal, right? And you dive deep into the biochemistry that's towards you. So whatever we need to do we need to do a full hormone Dutch test? Do we need to do like a full lipid panel? Just whatever the concern is that would benefit you. Then we look at, let's see, for the most part, supplement wise, I also like to choose the high quality supplements, because not every supplement is created equally. There's lots of fillers, there's artificial ingredients. So you want to make sure you're going with a trusted source. And I would say basically before any labs come back, everyone is deficient in having a good multivitamin with the methylated form of B vitamin, vitamin D3 plus K2, because you need that for absorption. Omegas people are short in too. And I would say a lot of times fiber is underrated, and sometimes protein. So those are like my baseline supplements if needed. And then we tweak obviously based off of who needs what. And then once we get lab results back, we touch base, we see what we need to tweak on the lifestyle adjustments, and then add in whatever we need to do from there. So I really
I
do
mean, this
encourage
really
that.
is a holistic approach.
Yes.
Wow. Like, I don't know that there's any doctor that I've ever been to. And I had an amazing OBGYN, and since then, doctor who was one of the few. I don't even think now she can do it anymore. Like you were mentioning about insurance, how they don't even allow you to spend more than
Mhm.
10 minutes just sitting there talking. She
Or
would dive
order
into, what are
tests
you
or
eating? What are
anything.
you doing?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just,
Mhm.
it's changed so much. So someone like you, if you're really, I mean, when was the last time that we're actually treating symptoms, right? Like, I think that this path is so important for so many women. And I would venture to also say so important for so many women who are in their mid to late 40s, early 50s, who
Mhm.
have going through the change of life. Everything's different than it was 20 years ago. We don't know how to navigate this. We don't get enough time with our doctors. There's so many variables. And this is just what you're doing is so beneficial to so many, because, like you said, you're taking a holistic approach and there's so many more variables than just my labs, right? Like that only
Mhm.
tells one part of the the story. So it's so important that you take this holistic approach. And I absolutely love what you're doing. I feel like we could sit here and talk about this for hours. I have so many more questions for you. But I know that we both have, kids and lives to get on with. So I am just so grateful that you have been here today. We're going to follow up and do this again. And we're going to for sure announce when our first retreat is. And we want everyone to join us. Cannot wait from that. But before I let you go, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you, the name of your podcast, socials, all that good stuff.
Definitely. Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait till we bring our first retreat together. Oh, it's going to be so amazing.
So good.
Yeah. So anytime anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. I can be found on Instagram at Dr. Remina, DrRemina. Website is also drremina.com. My podcast is the Dr. Remina Panjwani Show. I try to keep it simple.
Yeah, perfect. And we'll have all the spelling and everything in the show notes, so no one needs to worry and be frantically writing down notes in your car right now. Don't stop and pull over. We'll have the show notes in there. Dr. Remina, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see you in just a few short months. We're going to get together and see each other and give you a big hug. But thank you for all this amazing knowledge you have given to our listeners. I am so grateful we could do this today.
Me too. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day, and I can't wait to see you in person.
You too. Thank you again for listening to Where Passion Meets Purpose. If you're enjoying this show, please subscribe and download it so you don't miss an episode every single week. And if you think you have a friend who might benefit from listening, please share it with them as well. If you'd like to contact me, you can always reach me through email on my website at jenmentasana.com and my social media, Jen_Mentasana. And you can DM me there and I'll always respond, and we can connect about topics on the show or anything else you'd like to discuss. Thanks again for tuning in.